been covering AEW since the very beginning, 6 years ago. And with that, we can get to the questions. Thank you, Jim.
All right, you're right about that. 6 years now, it's been fantastic. So, John Alba from the Takedown on SI will lead us off, Tony, and then on deck we'll have Courtney Rice from Women's Wrestling Talk. So, John, you are up.
You got me? Sorry, it was taking a while to unmute
No,
me
we're
there.
good. Hi, John.
Okay. It's great to chat with you, Jim. Thank you, Tony. Always great to chat. And
Hey, John.
we had a late Knicks game last night after Dynamite, so we got a lot to catch up on. But
Style or here's another choice.
Yeah, we had half the locker room watching the Knicks game last night. So I know you had a challenging night, but it's good to hear from you.
got to drag Danny Garcia away from the TV there. But so I want to ask about the main event because you guys announced that the Ospreay and Hangman match is going to be the main event. Traditionally, not always, but traditionally, the Anarchy and the Arena match has served as the main event for this. And this year, you're including the women in it for the first time. Death Riders have been involved in your main event scene for the almost past 5 months now, and there's been some mixed feedback online as a result of that. What was your thought process in not including the Death Riders in the main event here and instead opting to give that slot to Will Ospreay and Hangman Page?
Well, I think it's going to be a fantastic pay-per-view. I'm very excited about the Owen Hart finals. I'm very excited for both of the Owen Hart finals, the men's and the women's matches. Very excited about Mercedes Moné versus Jamie Hayter, and very excited about Hangman Page versus Will Ospreay. And I think both matches have just been doing a fantastic job. We've been building a lot of excitement, and all four wrestlers have really been delivering in their interviews and all the wrestling they've been doing for us in 2025 and as long as they've all been here. I really am very excited about Hangman Page versus Will Ospreay. I think it's going to be a fantastic main event. The Anarchy in the Arena match is a great part of the pay-per-view. We have, at times, had not closed with the Anarchy in the Arena match. In fact, the first Anarchy in the Arena match, I believe, was third from the end. And I think sometimes, instead of focusing on the placement on the card, it's important to just look at the card as a whole. There's great matches, and everything on this show is going to be great, and it's going to have an opportunity to hit a home run. And in this case, I think Will Ospreay versus Hangman Page, both men have been absolutely smashing it out of the park all year. They've just been doing a fantastic job. And I think that both Will Ospreay and Hangman bring a lot to the table. I think it's going to be a very exciting, compelling match. I think there are multiple matches on this card, both of the Owen Hart finals, the Anarchy in the Arena, and many other things that would be very compelling in the main event spot. But I think Hangman and Will Ospreay are going to do a great job there. And when I looked at the very first Anarchy in the Arena match, it was actually not at the end of the show, and many people thought that was potentially the best one yet. So I don't think it necessarily has to go at the end, when you look back. And then looking back at some of our best shows, some of our best matches in the history of AEW, Hangman Page and Will Ospreay have been involved in some of the greatest matches and some of the greatest moments ever in AEW, and I can't wait for their match this Sunday at Double or Nothing. Thanks for asking, John.
Okay, thanks, John. Courtney Rice from Women's Wrestling Talk is next, and then Jason Paul from ProWrestling.net will follow Courtney. Courtney, you're up.
Courtney, can you hear us? Courtney,
Hello?
there you go. Yep.
Hello? Okay. Hi, Tony. I want to talk about one of the women's matches happening at Double or Nothing, and you about the Owen Hart Women's Tournament between Mercedes Moné and Jamie Hayter. And we did see the promo last night between those two ladies, and want to focus a lot about Jamie Hayter, since a lot of people are now starting to get into AEW and not familiar with her. A lot of people tend to forget she was a former AEW Women's Champion, and she had a few setbacks between her injury and her visa. And my question regarding this weekend's match between both of these ladies, is it a possibility we get to see a resurgence with Jamie Hayter and having her back into the title picture for the AEW Women's Championship?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great match, and both of the finalists, Jamie Hayter and Mercedes Moné, are two of the best wrestlers in AEW. They've had very different paths to get here. Jamie Hayter has been in AEW for a long time, but like you said, she's had some challenges along the way. She was in AEW actually dating back in 2019, and then when the lockdown happened, she was away for a long time, and she came back as a completely different wrestler. And Jamie Hayter's really somebody that, looking back to the very first year of AEW, has been with us and done great things and continued to improve, got better and better, and reached the height of the profession. She became the world champion. And like you said, she's had some setbacks with injury, and then we had to get her visa renewed, which worked great. And she's back, and she's doing some of the greatest work in her career. I think right now she's doing the very best work of her career. The stuff last night with Mercedes and Jamie Hayter was absolutely fantastic, and I think she's met her match. Mercedes Moné is one of the best wrestlers on the planet. Mercedes Moné is the face of the TBS channel, and both of these women would be a great number one contender. Whether it's Jamie Hayter or Mercedes Moné, either one of them is a great number one contender to whoever wins the AEW World Championship match between Timeless Toni Storm and Mina Shirakawa. I think to have so many great names and great wrestlers in the title picture, it's very intriguing, it's very interesting, I'm very excited about it, and I really think that whoever wins...
Unbox a better internet experience with Sparklight. Get 300 meg internet for $34.95 a month for 12 months. Equipment.
The Owen Hart Finals, whoever wins the Women's World Championship match, we're going to have a fantastic world title match at AEW All In, and the title picture is really interesting right now. I think AEW is having an excellent 2025, and I'm really excited about what all four of those women are doing. Jamie Hayter, Mercedes Moné, Timeless Toni Storm, and Mina Shirakawa. And your question specifically was about Jamie Hayter, who I completely agree with what you said. She's overcome a lot to get into this position, and yes, I really believe Jamie Hayter is capable of being a top star and doing everything it takes to be a great champion and a great leader in AEW. Thanks for asking.
Thank you, Courtney. Jason Powell from ProWrestling.net is next. Andrew Bedala from Final Bell Media will follow Jason. Jason, you're up.
Yeah, hey.
I guess my question, it relates to what I perceive as the improvement of Dynamite lately. Of course, it's all subjective, but it seems like the move to smaller venues has helped with the atmosphere. Maybe you're focusing on more of a core group of wrestlers. Can you comment on those ideas, and also just anything else that may have changed behind the scenes, if there's more voices involved, or just whatever's led to what I consider to be improvement?
No, there's less voices involved, and that may be part of the. I've really tightened it up, and I think this is like peak pandemic AEW in terms of having a great crew of people that are really excited to be here, and that really are all very excited about AEW. I think we have this great opportunity in 2025 with a new start, with an opportunity to simulcast and reach a new audience, and maybe even reach some fans that had cut the cord. But there's still such a great base on TBS and TNT, and I think, Jason, what you're seeing, it is subjective, but there is real data behind it to say that we've grown our audience in Q1, which is kind of amazing because people expected when we started simulcasting that the cable audience would go backwards, but actually we've grown the audience in Q1, and in Q2 we're doing very, very well, and things are really trending well for the year. this was a big opportunity for AEW. So in 2025, I've tried to make the most of it and go back to things that have worked really well for us since the beginning and had that mindset. Like every week we're in Daly's place and we're going to do the very best AEW, whether we're in one of these venues you talked about, with these really interesting places we've been. Some of the Detroit, the Masonic Temple was a fantastic example. We've been in some of these really exciting venues. Hammerstein in New York is a great example. I'm really excited to go to the Aragon Ballroom in Chicago, and those are great venues, but we've also had shows in massive venues with huge audiences, and I think it's great having that balance. And I also think whether you're in a great theater or an amphitheater or a huge arena or a huge stadium, we've been bringing the very best of AEW, like you said, with a great crew of wrestlers and the support of the fans. And I think by consistently putting on great shows week after week in 2025, you mentioned Dynamite. I also think Collision's having a great 2025, and the data is really good for Collision also in 2025. Both shows really grew their audience in Q1 over last year, Q4, and now are both having a great Q2. As far as what we're doing, I mean, we've got the best wrestlers in the world. AEW is where the best wrestlers wrestle. And it's really, I think, been a great year for that. So, no, I appreciate you saying that. And it's good to hear, you're somebody who I've been reading about your opinions on wrestling since I was a kid. And you've been covering the sport for a long time. Your opinions have a lot of validity. No two people can agree on every opinion about wrestling because, like you said, it's a subjective thing. But there's real evidence to say the fans really like what AEW is doing right now, and I'm glad to hear that you like it. That's a good sign for us. So thank you, man.
Thank you, Jason. Andrew Baydala from Final Bell Media is next. Cameron Hawkins from Yahoo Sports will follow. Andrew, you're up.
Can you guys hear me? Hello?
Hey.
Hey, Tony. How are you?
Great, man.
Currently, your pay-per-view distribution, especially in the United States, appears to be quite spread out and non-exclusive. With that in mind, congratulations on AEW, Double or Nothing this weekend. Can we expect AEW to continue this approach for pay-per-views, or is there a possibility of establishing a singular distributor or dedicated home for your events in the near future?
Well, we have great partners, and I'm excited about the new partnerships. I was excited when we added YouTube, and we've had some great opportunities to add new pay-per-view partners, in particular Amazon Prime. And Amazon Prime, one of the largest companies in the world, one of the largest streaming services, and a great opportunity to partner with them. And we've had a great collaboration with them. I believe Double or Nothing will be our third pay-per-view now on the Amazon Prime platform, and it's becoming very quickly a huge part of our business, and I think that's going to continue to grow. Long term, I still am looking towards pay-per-views on Max, and they're building that technology, as I understand, and that's something that would be very exciting for us. And I think we've also got the opportunity to sell on cable, satellite, and all these different providers. But certainly this year, while we're looking ahead to hopefully sometime soon being able to launch pay-per-views on Max and building out that tech with our great partners at Warner Brothers Discovery, in the meantime, right now, there are great pay-per-view partners. There are great places today where you can go order Double or Nothing. And for us this year, it's been great partnership with Amazon Prime. And even with Amazon Prime, they collaborate with Max. You can buy Max in Amazon, and you can watch Dynamite in Amazon Prime through the Max subscription. So that's pretty cool. And they have all the AEW content there, and then it goes right into the pay-per-view. So I think that's also a neat synergy. And as we've expanded our partnerships, the number one partnership, the most important thing we do is always the partnership between AEW and Warner Brothers Discovery. It's the lifeblood of AEW, and it really allows us to build out this great roster, to build out these great TV shows, and it makes AEW where the best wrestle. The platform to be able to have Dynamite on TBS, Collision usually on TNT, but tonight on TBS on a special Thursday Collision tonight. And, that really sets the tone for AEW and makes it possible to eventually here coming soon, AEW is going to be part of an HBO Max, which really excites me. And as we're part of that Max family right now, it's been great reaching the streaming audience with our TV shows, and eventually there's also the plan to have a pay-per-view menu, which is exciting. Thanks for asking.
Thank you, Andrew. Cameron Hawkins from Yahoo Sports is next. I will follow Cameron with a write-in question, Tony, from Ella J, a wrestling gal. But first, let's go to Cameron Hawkins from Yahoo Sports.
Seahawks.
Yeah. Thank you for your time. Just a quick question. Recently, you got on the card, you guys signed at night. You really prominent on TV. In your opinion, of course, run the thing, but anything that you received, anything you heard, what makes AEW a great destination for young talent? In your opinion?
Well, I think AEW is a great destination for young talent. I love working with young wrestlers. Our staff loves working with young wrestlers. I think what's really great is our veteran wrestlers love working with the young wrestlers. There's great opportunities to come here, learn from the very best wrestlers who have decades of experience, and even some wrestlers who are in the prime of their career right now and are in their prime, yet they have 10, 12, 15 plus years of experience despite being very young people. I think it's very, very impressive, the knowledge that the AEW locker room has. It's a very positive place, and I have to say in 2025, I think it's the most positive it's been since we were in Daly's place. I really, really enjoy coming to the shows, and I think we have a really, really positive crew right now, and I think it's coming across in the TV show how much people really like in AEW right now. And Kevin Knight is a great example of that. That's somebody that came in, he got a great opportunity. It's no secret that one of the biggest and best stars in AEW is Jay White. Jay White's injury was very. I was upset. I really wish we had Jay White. I love Jay White. I think he's just absolutely fantastic. And in particular, this past year, whether it was the classic series of matches he had with Hangman Page, his performance in the Casino Gauntlet matches, just time after time, I think Jay White just comes through. He's absolutely fantastic. I really believe in him. And when he got injured, it's a blow to the company, it's a blow to Jay, it's a blow to all of us, and it was disappointing. But Kevin Knight really stepped in and has made the most of a great opportunity to rise up the card. And I think we like to give our young wrestlers opportunities, and it just so happened Kevin became an indispensable part of the AEW TV crew very quickly and has really risen to the opportunity, whether it's in singles matches or teaming with Speedball Bailey, who's challenging for the Continental Championship this Sunday at Double or Nothing. I think Kevin Knight's just fit in AEW like a glove. And with Kevin in particular, it was interesting because I had already committed, because again, I care about developing young wrestlers. I committed to sending Nick Wayne and Kevin Knight to Japan, and Kevin became so indispensable to the TV. It was like, man, but if we'd known how big Kevin was going to be so quickly on the shows, because his role in the show did change. He really made the most of a great opportunity. We were planning to utilize Kevin, and I really, really like him. And then just like in other sports, when there's an injury and one of the star players gets injured, it creates an opportunity for one of the young players. And that's what happened here, and Kevin's really made the most of it. We were going to use Kevin on TV, but certainly he's gotten more opportunities, and especially being able to wrestle Will Ospreay in the Owen Hart tournament. And I think Kevin is just an excellent example of a young wrestler who's come in here and done a great job, and we're following Kevin's progress in New Japan Pro Wrestling, in the Super Juniors, but we're also really excited to have Kevin back in AEW, where he's got a bunch of great mentors. I really like working with Kevin. I think he's a fantastic young wrestler and a great example of the kind of young wrestlers we want to recruit, and also hopefully sets a good example for why young wrestlers would want to choose to be in AEW or even work with AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling in a unique case like Kevin's. Thank you for asking, Seahawk.
Thank you, Cameron. So, Tony, I've got a write-in question here from Ella J, a wrestling gal. I'm going to read it, and then I'd like to ask Bill Bodkin from the Pop Break to be ready after Tony addresses Ella's question, which is the following. With Anarchy in the Arena taking place this weekend, Willow and Marina make history by being the first two women to compete in this match. How important is it that these two are in this match?
Well, I think it's fantastic. I really believe that the Death Riders have run roughshod, and now is a great opportunity for the stars of AEW, a lot of the fan favorites, to band together, and we've seen that with some really exciting action in recent weeks. And for a long time now, Willow Nightingale's been a big part of this. Willow's one of the people that stood up against the Death Riders, and I think it's really cool because Marina has interfered in a lot of these matches. Marina has gotten very physical with a lot of the wrestlers, has been very involved, and it makes total sense in this Anarchy in the Arena. So I thought it would be great for them to be in this match, and I'm glad people are excited for it. I think it's something new and different that we have not seen yet in the Anarchy in the Arena, but it makes total sense with what's happening in AEW right now. And I think Marina and Willow are going to do a great job in the Anarchy in the Arena match, and it's going to be an amazing spectacle and a really exciting fight this Sunday.
All right, thank you, Ella. Thank you, Tony. Bill Bodkin from the Pop Break is next, to be followed by Dave Meltzer from the Wrestling Observer. Bill.
You know Harbor Freight for affordability, but durability goes right along with it. You see, we test.
Oh, Bill. There you are.
Hey, sorry about that. Tony, I want to fast forward a few weeks after Double or Nothing, which looks to be an incredible pay-per-view, to the middle of June for Grand Slam Mexico. I know you're a lifelong wrestling fan like myself. I just want to talk about the emotions of running Dynamite in one of the most famous arenas within the entire world, and what you're hoping to present to, like you said, a lot of new faces who are watching AEW and your partnership with CMLL.
Well, I'm very excited about it. I'm excited for so many wrestling fans to see Arena Mexico for the first time on television and on Max, and very excited about AEW becoming the first company to ever do TV in America out of Arena Mexico. It's going to be amazing, and I'm really thrilled about the partnership we built with CMLL. Salvador and his team are great people. They built a great company. CMLL has 90 years of history. It is the premier wrestling organization in Mexico, and I think one of the all-time premier wrestling organizations in the world. And in just a few short years, Salvador and I have built a great relationship, and the team around Salvador, I really trust them, and I believe they've come to trust me, and we've done more things. We've built a growing partnership and collaboration and friendship, and to go down there, it's a lot of trust from both sides to put a show like this together. And I'm really excited about AEW showing the very best of Lucha Libre and showing some of the best wrestling fans, one of the best wrestling arenas. It's just going to be a great experience, and I thought having our first ever AEW event in Mexico, it would be very fitting to do it in Arena Mexico and do it as the AEW Grand Slam Mexico for the first time. And I can't imagine a better partnership and a better timing, a better place for all of this than just about a month from now in June. It's crazy how soon it's come. For over 20 years, for actually probably more like 30 years, I've been watching wrestling from Arena Mexico, and in particular, when WCW closed down, I really became a bigger and bigger CMLL fan. We're also doing a Dean tribute show out here at Double or Nothing, and for those of you who don't know what the Dean show is, it's a tribute started reading this in high school, and I started like posting on their message boards and following their conversations. But a big thing to me was after WCW closed down and ECW closed down, two of the three American wrestling promotions that were on TV a lot were shut down. And to me, it was interesting because CMLL was something I started watching more and more of. I followed it a little bit, but in the early 2000s, I really became a bigger and bigger fan of it. It was on the Death Valley Driver where they sang the praises. Dean Rasmussen, Phil Schneider, and a bunch of people posting there about a number of the great luchadors, including Blue Panther, who is actually coming to the show and will be part of the Dean tribute show. I thought that was really cool. I've been a fan of the CMLL for a long time. To have Mystico, who's one of the biggest wrestling stars in the world, be a part of our shows is really exciting. And tonight, we'll get a great look at that. As Mystico is part of the big trios match tonight on AEW Collision on a special Thursday night show. Great to have multiple wrestlers from CMLL on the show tonight in multiple matches, and I think it's going to be really great when we go to Mexico and show the fans watching Dynamite what Arena Mexico is like, how passionate the fans are, what a great venue for wrestling it is, and also in the weeks and months to come, showcasing more of the great CMLL stars. Thanks for asking.
Thank you, Bill. Dave Meltzer from the Wrestling Observer is next, to be followed by Dominic D'Angelo from One True Sport. Dave.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, hey Tony, how you doing? I got a kind of a quick ask for like an update if there's anything common, imminent as far as negotiations for any new domestic or international rights deals. But I think the main thing I wanted to ask was when it comes to now I just lost my train of thought there. When it comes to the data that you receive, the television data and everything like that, the one thing this year is that the total viewer numbers for your shows are up, and you even brought it up. We both have. As far as they're up at a time when you would think with the addition of Max that it would siphon viewers off and it would probably decline a little bit. In fact, it's up, which is amazing. That's especially true with over 50. Under 50, it's not as true. So my supposition is probably that there's similar growth in under 50, but it's more on the Max side because that makes the most sense. But the fact that we don't have the data, is that like frustrating to you? Because as far as the idea of like, are you up 10%? Are you up 30%? Are you up 50%? And it's kind of like
the sweetest moments deserve the boldest flavors, like our new concrete mixers and lemon ice coolers.
We don't know. And obviously that data is very important when it comes to decision making and popularity and things like that. So I was just wondering if is that difficult for you when it comes to whether it's not so much booking, but overall, running the company?
No, it's great questions. For the first part of overseas deals, yes. Looking at some new international TV deals, nothing far enough along where I can comment on it right now, but it is a good question. As I said, domestically, the partnership between AEW and Warner Brothers Discovery is the lifeblood of our wrestling company, and being on TNT, TBS, and Max, it's what powers AEW. And having this great year we're having in 2025, as you said, it's amazing to see the TV viewership grow. And I agree with you. I think it is a good hypothesis that growth is happening in the younger viewers. We're seeing that bigger growth in the streaming, and we're seeing bigger growth with older viewers on cable and satellite. I think that makes total sense, and that does kind of add up to what I know so far, but I don't have all the data. It's not, I don't get the same robust data from the streaming shows that I get from showing Dynamite and Collision on TBS and TNT. But seeing the cable and satellite growth, that's very, very exciting because, it means everything we're getting deal there that expanded Collision to USA Network. The show's done really well for them and is I think one of their top shows. And Dynamite's done very well on TSN, where we've also seen that kind of great growth. We've had great growth in England this year, so worldwide, great lift in AEW in 2025. It's very exciting, and while I don't have all the specifics for the streaming numbers that I have for the cable numbers every week and all that very specific data, I know that they're very happy with what we're doing, and that makes me very happy. So it's a little bit of a different role for me. I'm used to being the sports executive, and whether it's with AEW wrestlers or some of the great football players and people I deal with in football, it's a little bit different being on that side of the table, trying to please the boss, trying to please the coach. And I think we've been doing a great job. I know they were really happy with our numbers this year, and I know that even last week in particular, we had our biggest Dynamite audience of the entire year and going back a long time. And that was extra impressive because kind of like what we're talking about, the Dynamite audience last week, it was the biggest cable audience since September, but back in September, we weren't streaming. So it's presumably like a lot more people than it was. So it's got to be one of our biggest audiences in a really long time for sure. And what's exciting is that growth. It's in the U.S., it's in the U.K., it's in Canada, which are the three biggest TV markets for us right now. I think it's important to focus on India. I think there are very exciting opportunities there, and we are looking at that aggressively. And that is another area where we can grow the TV because there are a lot of wrestling fans in that territory, and it's a great wrestling territory. And there are some other overseas partnerships we're looking at that I think can really help AEW and be good for the company. But one thing for international I'm really excited about that we were just talking about on my last question is Fox Sports Mexico. That's one of the newest TV deals. That's been absolutely great. They're doing a great job with the content. Mexico has some of the greatest wrestling fans in the world. Obviously, they're located very closely to the U.S. The time zones match up. The fandoms intersect. I love Lucha Libre. Have been integrating more and more Lucha Libre into the shows. Tonight, you'll see a lot of the CMLL stars, which is not an isolated thing. And I think that Fox Sports Mexico partnership is also really exciting. Thanks for asking, Dave.
Thank you, Dave. Dominic D'Angelo from One True Sport is next. I will follow Dominic with a write-in question from Brian Zillum from PW Torch. Dominic?
Okay. Tony, you able to hear me all right?
Yeah.
Hey, cool. Awesome. Great card, it looks like, for Double or Nothing. It is crazy. It's been 6 years. Nuts to think that. But I did want to ask you, in ties to the pay-per-view, the passing of Sabu. And I know you had a strong bond with him in regards to you being at that stretcher match that he had at the ECW era between him and Rob Van Dam. And I wanted to follow that up with the stretcher match you're going to have with Ricochet and Mark Briscoe. Is that paying homage to Sabu this weekend? And also just wanted your thoughts on the passing of Sabu and what he meant to you as a fan and as a promoter.
Well, thank you for asking. When I was a kid, Sabu fascinated me. And I first saw him in wrestling magazines when I was 10 years old, 11 years old. I thought this guy was really interesting. I'd only seen photos of him. And one of the first times I ever talked to people on the internet was when I was 12 years old. There was some of you might remember this, there was a Sabu versus Cactus Jack match, and it was before video was being live streamed on the internet, so there were guys giving play-by-play of the match in a chat room, which would not, it's basically like a forerunner to now on social media, people talking about the matches. And the first time I saw Sabu on video was on ECW tapes. And then the first time I got to see him in person was when I was 13 years old. Like you said, I've told the story many times, but just to reiterate it for the sake of completionism, I took this test to get admitted to the University of Illinois Laboratory High School when I was 13, and I did very didn't want to go to the school, and I kind of took the test under somewhat false pretenses that if I passed it, at least it would show that I could get into the top school, but I didn't actually have to go. But then when I got in, my parents really did want me to go. I did not want to go to the school, and I told them that, and they said, well, let's negotiate. We'll do something. Like, what is it you really want? And if it's reasonable, maybe we can do it. And I said, well, I'm 13 years old, and most of my best friends are people I talk to on America Online about wrestling, and I want to go to the ECW arena, and I want to see show. I want to see the Sabu Rob Van Dam stretcher match. I want to see Chris Jericho's last weekend in ECW, and I was 13 years old, and my dad took me to Philadelphia, and it was the first time I'd ever seen wrestling live outside of Champaign, Illinois, my hometown. And
do you have a car? Do you have a clean driving record? Did you know that you could pay as low as $39?
The main event of the weekend was the Rob Van Dam versus Sabu stretcher match. And in AEW, I've had the pleasure of working with both men. And I really, really like Rob, and I really, really like Sabu. And Sabu came in for us, fittingly around Double or Nothing. And he was a great person. I really enjoyed meeting him. I was a fan of him as a kid and as an adult. He captivated me. What a great career he had. He was one of, and I to reiterate and reuse the same word I said at the very beginning of this, he's one of the most fascinating wrestlers I've ever seen. And he was so captivating and nuts. And he was bigger than life, especially to the fans in the ECW arena. We're going to be going and doing a series of shows in that venue. And the last time I was in that building, the last time I set foot in there, I was 13 years old, and it was the stretcher match, Sabu and Rob Van Dam. And this stretcher match, I had thought about the stretcher match. I thought it made a lot of sense, and it was what I was leaning towards. And then when Sabu passed, I thought, man, it's incredible that we're doing this stretcher match, because it honestly was what I was already going to do. But probably inspired in part by the fact that I was at that great stretcher match. It's a great memory for me as a kid, and it's something I wanted to do in AEW. I don't think we've done a stretcher match, as far as I can remember. I mean, we've been doing this 6 years, but I can't remember one. We've had some great matches and all kinds of great stipulations, but it just felt like the right time for what Mark Briscoe and Ricochet were doing, and for this Double or Nothing. And then it was terrible when I heard Sabu pass. I'm very sorry for his family and close friends. I met him a few times, and I was a big fan, but I didn't know him really, really well. He said some really nice things about me that I really appreciated. And, to return the favor, I think he is awesome, and I'm a huge fan of his, and I think it's a huge loss to the world of wrestling that we lost Sabu. Thanks for asking.
Thank you, Dominic. So I've got a write-in question here from Brian Zillum from PW Torch, and we'll follow the write-in with Jim Barcelone from the Miami Herald. So, Tony, the question from Brian, is there any update regarding streaming pay-per-views on HBO Max? Is there anything that you could possibly address that could be delaying the process?
Hey, Brian. Yeah, I actually kind of covered that earlier, I think, Jim, when I was referring to the pay-per-view providers, and kind of had said, this is new technology. So we have great pay-per-view providers right now. Amazon Prime has come on this year. YouTube, all the cable and satellite, in demand, ppv.com. There's a lot of great ways to watch the pay-per-view. But in particular, I think we're very focused on our partnership with Warner Brothers Discovery always, and they are building out that technology. That's not something that exists in the current platform. There aren't pay-per-views that you can buy right now in any sport like that on Max, but I think that's something that is coming, and they're building, and that's part of what we're working towards, and having an even more expansive partnership than it already is with AEW and Warner Brothers Discovery. Mr. Zasloff gave us this great opportunity to start doing Collision. Of course, we have Collision tonight on TBS. It's a little bit of a different night and a bit of a different network than we're used to, but it's a great opportunity. And I'm excited because we have the countdown to Double or Nothing on right after Collision tonight. So it's a couple more days for people to build and see these stories and get excited. For me, I really, really love those countdown shows. I think our team does a fantastic job on them. And Mike, Phil, all the people in Nashville that work on these packages, they do a fantastic job. And we have a great team that really collaborates, whether it's the packages you see on social media or on Dynamite Collision, or this show. And when you look in and whether it's Mike, Phil,